Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Captain, I relieve you of your command of this ship. Cobb, escort the captain to his stateroom. I'm assuming command.
You're not assuming anything.
Chief of the boat, Captain Ramsey's under arrest. Lock him in his stateroom.
Captain, please.
Now, Cobb!
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. I'm your host Stuart and I'm also joined by Andy.
Good evening and welcome to really sunny Scotland. No, of course I'm lying because it's radio, you can't see. It's been trying to snow here again.
No snow here, just rain.
Yeah, no,
rain on and off.
It's been awful weather here and it was freezing. I'm not kidding. I went out earlier because I had to see Bullet in the Head and I almost froze to death on my journey back.
Well, I've been stuck inside all day, so I haven't had that problem. Well, again, we always seem to start off with weather things. It's a movie podcast, not weather. So we have 4 films to review this week. They are...
we have Robert Zemeckis' latest big screen Flight with Denzel Washington. Sylvester Stallone is back to the 80s style action movies in Bullet to the Head. We have a movie... I've not actually know anything about this one, Chain, because you're doing it. I haven't looked into it.
Yeah.
And then Hyde Park on Hudson, which is about Franklin Roosevelt, played by Bill Murray.
Yeah, on top of that, we have some movie news and the UK box office top 10. And every single week, I always ask if anybody wants a shout out on the show. And I've been told if I don't say hello to Blondie Fost 85, Andy WWJ, and the Tri Brand, I will get my cut off. Yeah, they would be cut off. So yeah, hello to them, those 3.
Just going to say as well, in the live chat, anyone who is listening to us live, I have just posted the top 10 in there quickly. So if you've got any comments on any of the UK top 10 movies, put it in there quickly so we can cover it as we get to it.
Yeah, and why don't we start things off with the UK box office top 10 then? Number 10, it's a new entry for The Last Stand. Yeah,
which is it's Arnold Schwarzenegger returning to the action genre. In his as the lead character in an action film. I quite liked it. It's done really poorly. It's suffered because of, I think it came out the week there were 4 big films, and it's not done brilliantly in the US or here, but it's done. I think it should have done better personally from what I saw of it. I enjoyed it. It's kind of like a western. It's the typical Arnie film. If you go into it knowing what to expect, then I think you'll enjoy it. If you're expecting it to be a lot better than that, though, you're not going to get what you want.
I thought it was below average. It just felt like it was more paint by numbers. I was a bit more harsher on it, to be honest.
Wait till we get later on.
I just thought Johnny Knoxville was just completely pointless. I don't know why he's on the poster. He's not a main character in the film. He's forgotten about after the first 5 minutes for a good 50 minutes, and I just thought Schwarzenegger, he did the best what he could. He's too old to go and throwing himself around. And there's a few scenes in the movie that surprise you a little bit, considering how old he is. It's just, I just thought it was very distinctly average.
I was just impressed more. I went in with the average expectations of it. It's going to be an Arnold Schwarzenegger action film, and it was.
Yeah, it's below average in my opinion. At number 9, The Hobbit.
Yeah, it's taken 51 million in the UK now, so we don't need to say anything more about it. It's done really well for itself, and I'm looking forward to the other 2.
Yeah, at number 8, Monsters Inc. 3D.
Again, we don't really need to say much about it. We haven't been to see it at the cinema because it's the 3D version. It's just of the same Monsters Inc., which is a great animation movie. But it's one, let's face it, it's been retrofitted. It wasn't done in 3D. I'm a supporter of 3D. Stuart's not. So I know Stuart definitely doesn't want to see this. I wouldn't mind seeing it, but I'm not going to make the special trip and everything to go and see it at the cinema in 3D because I think I can get the Blu-ray. The 3D Blu-ray comes out not long after this has been out now.
Yeah, I would probably recommend that as well. Just buy the 3D Blu-ray, because then even if you buy the 3D Blu-ray, you're going to get the 2D version of the film as well.
I mean,
so
I can see
that
I can see that they have been good because the computer computer-generated movies are the best ones for doing 3D, especially going back and doing the 3D because they can recreate it all and do it properly. So this will probably be good in the 3D, but I mean, it is Monsters Inc., so you've got the reason there. Monsters Inc. is a perfectly fine Pixar movie as it is.
Yeah, at number 7, Andrew's movie of the decade, the new entry for movie 43.
Yeah, and I'm really disgusted that it went in higher than The Last Stand, because it really doesn't deserve to. It does not deserve to be in the top 50, let alone the top 10. Ignore the posters and the adverts and the trailers and everything saying, oh yeah, big star studies cast, it's got all this and this and this and this in it. It's gross. It's not even gross out funny. It's just gross. It's pathetic. It's awful. And if I could give a star rating to films, if I did that, I would give this a -2 at least.
One quick question though. Do you hope that Run for Your Wife, the new Danny Dyer film, does better than this?
Let's move on.
Or is that pushing it?
Let's move on.
I think I pushed it slightly too far there. Number 6, The Impossible.
Yeah, which I know that someone in the chat, I think it was the Menace, just a moment ago, said that he was really surprised with The Impossible. It's a small budget film that looks big budget, and it's amazing what has been done with this film to cover that disaster of the tsunami. And it's an emotionally exhausting movie, but it's one of those good emotionally exhausting movies. We both agree on it. It should not be a 12. It should be a 15, really. Not for anything in particular, but just because of the overall tone and the subject, and it's quite graphic in some moments, and some of them are quite horrific.
Yeah, one thing that surprised me about The Impossible is that it came out on January 1st, and each week that it's been out, it's made more than 1 million. So I think it's done brilliant.
Well, it's taken now. It's just over 10 million in the UK alone. I'm not sure what it's like for its worldwide box office, but I can't imagine it's had a problem making back, because it wasn't a big budget film.
It was around about 22 million.
Yeah, which is tiny for a film that looks like this, and to have Ewan McGregor and Naomi Watts in it, that you wouldn't expect that from this movie. It's surprisingly, it's that good.
Yeah. Before I go on to number 5, I always keep on forgetting to say hello to the people in the chat. So hello to US Danny Dyer fan, the Menace UK, and Sunny, and I know Blondie's also listening to us on the show, but she's not in the live chat. And number 5, and you went for Zero Dark 30.
She's listening live. She's not in the live chat. Oh, that's just not taking full advantage.
She's in the live chat. She's just popped in the live chat there.
Okay, yeah. Zero Dark 30 is I think one of my favourite Catherine Bigelow films, and I love Catherine Bigelow films. It's extremely well put together. It's which is an odd thing because it doesn't have characterization in it. It has characters who are doing what they do. They're not going about having their normal life. They are searching for Osama bin Laden, and it follows the decade that took to actually happen. And it is a really good sort of a terrorist political thriller, I think I would say. It's the only way I can think of to describe it. It goes through the facts of obviously the true events of what's happened with after 9/11, and you have the various bombings that have then followed that in the decade that after that, and it's extremely well put together and with a great performance from Jessica Chastain at the centre of it.
Yeah, Jessica Chastain is brilliant, and Catherine Bigelow, she's done an amazing job with the movie. You know what I think about the film anyway, and I would have liked her to have done better than it had. I would have liked more people to have gone to see it, because it is that much of a brilliant film.
Speaking of Jessica Chastain, have you seen the trailer for a new film called Mama that she's in?
Yeah, I'm reviewing it in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, I'm glad you are, because to be honest, I saw the trailer for it today in the cinema. I wasn't expecting it, and it actually scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, I'm reviewing it in a couple of weeks' time, Mama. Number 4, Life of Pi.
Which is a really great visual feast from Ang Lee, who does what he does. He does make films look amazingly brilliant, and he also has a great story here, because it's based on the book, and it's the story of a boy who is essentially left in a lifeboat with a tiger, and has to survive despite the fact that there's tiger there wanting to kill him and eat him. And it's more than that. I mean, that's half of the film is just them out on the ocean, and it's incredible for that it holds together. It's a 2-hour film, and it's absolutely astonishing. It's a gut-wrenching film at some points, especially towards the end, but it's a brilliant film.
Menace, there is something seriously wrong with you if you've watched Warrior 3 times in a week so far.
I'd say if you watched Warrior, I think you should give Here Comes the Boom a chance when that comes out.
No, please don't. Trust me. No, don't. Number 3.
I don't think you'll be disappointed with that.
No, he will be. Number 3, a new entry for Lincoln.
Yeah, you'll have to this. I still haven't seen this. I want to see this, but I've just not had a chance because it is 2.5, 3 hours long.
Yeah, it's directed by Steven Spielberg, and for a Steven Spielberg film, it's more of a reeled back movie. That's exactly what he wanted with this thing. After he did Warhorse, he wanted to do a film which was a bit more, I can't think of the word, it was more reeled back, more about the characters than what was going on around them, and concentrating on the 13th Amendment, the amendment that enabled blacks to have proper rights and rather than being treated as slaves. It's just ironic that it came out like a week after Django Unchained. But Lincoln is brilliantly directed by Spielberg. It's Spielberg, I think he has a knack of doing these films. It's insanely acted by Daniel Day-Lewis. He's just eerie, like Abraham Lincoln. The film itself is more about the political side of things rather than you seeing lots of explosions in the Civil War and the fights that happened in the Civil War. So if that puts you off, then you might be a bit disheartened and go to see it. But I highly recommend you watching it because some of the scenes in the film, every actor in the film is fantastic. And Tommy Lee Jones, it's the best acting he's ever done.
I'm going to make a point of seeing this next week because I really do want to see it.
Yeah, I think you'll appreciate it a hell of a lot. At number 2, Django Unchained.
Yeah, which is Quentin Tarantino's latest. Well, yeah, I'm going to say masterpiece because even though it has flaws, it is a masterpiece of a film. Great performance from Jamie Foxx in the centre of it, as well as although he is really upstaged by Christoph Waltz throughout the entire film for all of his sequences, and Leonardo DiCaprio in a role that is rarely like the kind of role you see him in. It's kind of a refreshing film, except that it just goes on for too long. It's about 45 minutes too long. Really did need some editing down to get rid of mostly Quentin Tarantino's scenes. But it's an extremely good film. The only thing I've got problems with is that there's the unnecessary amount of bloodshed in bloodshed sequences in the film. And some of the music I found just didn't work for me in the film because it's too contemporary. But other than that, it is a great film.
Yeah, US Danny Dyer's fans said Samuel Jackson and Django give me nightmares for 2 nights.
It's a strange, but it's not the fact that it's scary. It's the fact that he plays a black man who has essentially been beaten, not beaten physically, but beaten mentally. He is now of that serving the white man mentality, so much so that he'll even go against other black people to serve the white man, and that's what is quite scary about that role. I think he plays it so brilliantly, so strongly.
Yeah. We need to quickly push forward because we've nearly used 15 minutes on the top 10 alone. Okay. Number 1, Les Miserables.
Yeah, okay, I'll be quick on this and just say it's great. Go and see it if you haven't, because even if you don't like musicals, it's fantastic. That's why it's still at number 1 after 3 weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say something really cheesy there, but I'm not going to. I know me saying not saying something cheesy, it's rare, but I'm not going to fall into that trap. Right, let's get on to some movie news. And broke today is Marvel have announced that there will be a standalone Hulk film as a part of Phase 3. Now, the way Marvel do their films is they have phases leading up to the next Avengers. So it'll lead up to the next Avengers, and the third Avenger film will centre around Hulk coming to Earth to battle against the combined forces of Marvel's heroes. Now, you can tell I'm stumbling over the news story because I'm not reading it down the way I would normally write it. I'm just reading it because it's just a news story that we've only just getting ourselves. So Avengers 3 will centre around World War Hulk, but there will be a standalone Hulk film leading up to Avengers 3.
Yeah, that is supposedly going to be one that's based off of Planet Hulk, which is a a Hulk-centered story, which is why that'll be the Hulk standalone movie. But it sounds like they are really setting this up, and I'm really looking forward to this building up. It's going to be a great couple. It's going to be about 6 years now till we see all that come to fruition. But it's going to be great seeing that build up.
Yeah, and I'm guessing if you want more information on this film, listen to Following the Nerd on Thursday, because I wouldn't be surprised if they cover it.
Yeah.
They're bound to cover it.
Mark will be doing his head in because of the fact that he's having to cover so much Marvel things this week again.
Yep. More news story. According to future film casting, Captain America the Winter Soldier has had its filming put back by a few months from March to June. A reason has not been released. Star Chris Evans has also said that he has yet to receive the script.
Okay, so that's possibly got script problems, which is worrying. But I'd rather that they push things back instead of trying to get something going without having a fully finished and great script, because they know what they're doing when it comes to writing the Marvel films. They've proven that with all of the last 6 Marvel films that there have been now. I'm going to go on with some quick other Marvel news.
I'm not finished.
You're not finished?
You can go on with your Marvel news.
Well, Marvel studio head Kevin Feige announced that Edgar Wright will be bringing the character Ant-Man to the screen as part of the Phase 3 lineup. And it's also going to include characters then from Phase 2. From the Avengers 2, they're looking to get another character of I think it's called the Magician. I don't have it written down here. I've lost it now, but this character, which is another one that a lot of fans will know. I don't know it, but a lot of the fans will know it. Is supposedly going to be built up for Phase 3. Bryan Singer has announced regarding X-Men Days of Future Past that he's now added to the cast the recognisable faces of Shawn Ashmore, Anna Paquin and Ellen Page, who played Iceman, Rogue and Kitty Pryde, I think it is, in the previous X-Men films. So it's further going to be tying together the 2 time periods in the X-Men universe. And Robert Downey Jr. recently let slip some sort of hints of things that are going to happen at the end of the upcoming Iron Man 3, where he said, everywhere you look now, in every Marvel movie, there are opportunities where certain new pals of Tony's could be useful, so they're in the atmosphere, so to speak, but I wouldn't expect to see them on the ground in this one. So it's leading to speculation from that Iron Man 3 is going to follow into a story where Tony will possibly go off into space at the end of Iron Man 3 to join the Guardians of the Galaxy.
We never know. Couple of quick pieces of news story here. In a recent interview with MTV, Robert Rodriguez has revealed that if he was asked to do a Han Solo spin-off film from Star Wars, he would jump to the chance.
See, it's been too long. Han Solo's now going to be like, if he gets Harrison Ford back in for it, that would be great. That's the only way they could do it. But I mean, Harrison Ford is now, at that age, they're going to be turning Harrison Ford into an action star at that age.
No, I know. I think they'll need to get somebody else to play a younger Han Solo. They can't get Harrison Ford to do it.
Yeah, it's been too long.
Yeah. 2 more quick pieces of news. Paramount has announced that Star Trek Into Darkness will open up 2 days early on IMAX screens on the 15th of May before it opens worldwide on the 17th.
Okay, I'm going to try and get IMAX tickets now then. I wasn't going to, but I'm going to now.
Yeah, Menace, I am so close to the ban button. Keith Lemon will never play a Han Solo. That's a horrible idea. And final piece of news, Moon and Source Code director Duncan Jones has been announced as the director of the World of Warcraft film. Jones went onto Twitter when the news broke and said, so the gauntlet was thrown down ages ago. Can you make a proper movie of a video game? I've always said it's possible. Go do it now. The film will start shooting at the end of the year.
It's possible, but with a game of that kind of size, you're going to need, honestly, a kind of a Lord of the Rings trilogy size thing. You're not going to do it in one film, not successfully. It's going to end up like Dungeons and Dragons.
No, a Dungeon Siege, what Uwe Boll did, because he's on to his 3rd film. There's a 3rd film coming out on DVD. Yeah, he's still
No.
making video game movies.
Make it stop. Make it stop. Quickly, just before we go on, I'm going to mention that there are now Super Bowl trailers out for Iron Man 3, Fast and Furious 6, which is the first footage we've had from the film, Star Trek Into Darkness, World War Z, and The Lone Ranger, which all have new footage in them. They are up on the website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk, so I do suggest that you check them out if you're looking forward to them, because they do whet your appetite.
Yeah, now I would normally go to a sort of like ad break, but two things. One, I forgot to upload it onto my panel here, and two, the biggest reason is I wasn't sent it. So Dalek Sex, if you're listening to the show now, or if you're listening back to the show, shame on you for not sending me a new advert for Holocaust in your locals, or whatever they're calling it now, Friday at 11 o'clock on Spreaker. I can't play a trailer if I don't receive one.
Yeah. Oh, that's so saved us a couple of minutes, though, that we did need, because we are running a bit late.
Yeah, so I will go into the first review of the night, and it's Flight. It's directed by Robert Zemeckis, and this is his first live-action film he's done in a very long time, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing live-action filming, but with stop motion.
Yeah, I mean proper like live-action film with proper actors rather than what he's been working with, like the Polar Express and things like that.
It's also his first adult-themed sort of rating film as well for about more than a decade.
Yeah, and this one, it centres on Denzel Washington's character of Whip Whitaker. And at the start of the film, you can probably sense the tone of the movie from the opening scene, which involves him in a hotel room with a flight attendant, which you learn that she is a flight attendant. He's done drugs. He's drunk copious amounts of alcohol. He's had sexual encounters with her as well. Considering that the opening scene is just you see her completely naked, and you're thinking to yourself, this is a Robert Zemeckis film, the director who did things like Back to the Future and The Polar Express. You're not expecting that kind of thing. So yeah, it gives you a taste of what Denzel Washington's character is like. The thing is, though, you find out that he's a pilot, and the next day he's going to charter a flight out of, I can't remember where it is. It's LA or somewhere like that. I think
it might be Dallas Airport.
Yeah, well, it's somewhere like that. He's ready to charter a flight. Here's a clip.
We've flown together before? I don't think so, sir. You sure? Yeah, Ken Evans. Whip Whitaker. Nice to meet you. My pleasure. Oxygen check. Checks. You want to hit? No, thank you, sir. You sure? Yes, sir. Okay. How you feeling today, sir? A little tired. Quick turnaround for me. 10 turns in 3 days. Off tomorrow.
Here's a coffee.
Oh, thank you.
And your aspirin.
Thank you.
And the manifest with 102 souls on board.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's get them tucked in. We're ready to push.
You got it.
Yeah, before I go on for the rest of the review, sorry, Alex. Evidently, we've burnt her tea. She got distracted by the show, and we've burnt her tea. Here's a tip: before you listen to the show next time, make sure you have something to eat, or eat after the show.
Or have it ready to eat when we start.
Yeah, I owe her dinner now, so unfortunately. Right, the rest of the film, for the next 25-30 minutes of it, you'll have seen it in the trailer. It's that big, spectacular plane crash where something happens with the plane. I'm not going to go into details. You need to see it. Even though you've seen it in the trailer, it's best to watch it, because that's like the tension of the film. So you see the amazing plane crash that's in the movie. Then the movie takes a complete twist, takes a different turn, as it centres around Denzel Washington's character and the fact that how he's dependent on drugs, how he's dependent on alcohol and sex, and that he is being put under investigation for what's gone on, because supposedly he was drunk when he chartered the flight itself. And so, like I said, the rest of the film is exploring how his inner demons took hold of him more and more. And even though he's trying his hardest to get off the alcohol, to get off the drugs, he seems to fall back on it. It's like a security blanket to him. It's something which is there, and it relieves the pain that's supposedly gone through his life. Even though he is split up from his wife, but there's something there which makes him drink and makes him do what he does, and it wrecks his life. And like I said, the rest of the film is he's been put under investigation, but you see his life being destroyed. Now, for me, the film, it centres around Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington needed to be on top form for this film to work because of the character that he plays. It's a hard character, and if you just give this to any old actor, then they might struggle with it. Denzel Washington is a smart actor at times. He has made some stupid decisions when it comes to roles that he's played in films. This is probably one of his smartest ones. It's got to be some of the best acting he's ever done. He's on real top form in this. It's just a pity that it's the typical Robert Zemeckis thing where he has a problem with where he's got an idea like the drugs and alcohol, and he thinks he has to have something big on each end of it, so like a book, to prop it up, and that's the play and idea. It happens at the start of the film, it's brought back in at the end of the film, but the middle movie is more about how somebody is reliant on drugs and alcohol rather than the plane crash itself. So it feels, in a way, it feels like two films. But like I said, if it wasn't for Denzel Washington, then it would have probably been a bit of a bog standard film. Denzel Washington and John Goodman, because John Goodman in this film is pretty awesome. I think Don Cheadle is
Don Cheadle, I was going to say as well. Yeah, he needs to be mentioned too because he is brilliant in it as well.
I sort of disagree with that. I thought it was a bit one-toned. I felt Don Cheadle's character, but John Goodman he's made some brilliant films. He was in The Artist, and he was in Argo, and John Goodman is on major form as of late, and now he's in this, and he needs a lot of plaudits. I
felt in this though, actually, John Goodman needed to dial it back a little bit, because it was a little bit too out there for me in it. I mean, that's one of the things, but I agree completely. Denzel Washington is the pin that holds this movie together fully, because he gives a faultless performance from start to finish.
Yeah, I think John Goodman, his character needed to be OTT, considering the person that it's sort of like, if you look at John Goodman's character, it's the devil on Denzel Washington's shoulder. Yeah. That is his character. He is the person who's constantly pushing him to see, the drugs are good. There is a specific scene in the film where it shows you that, and he's specifically there because he needs that kind of thing, and he's saying the alcohol is good, it makes you a better person. He is the devil to Denzel Washington's character. But it's a really good film, and we have to quickly move on to the next film.
Bullet to the Head, which is directed by Walter Hill, is essentially an 80s style action movie starring Sylvester Stallone as James Bonomo. I'm not going to say that again. Who is he is essentially a hitman who worked out of New Orleans. He and his partner, at the start of the movie, you actually see them go and perform a hit, and after they finish, they go to a bar where they're supposed to be meeting up their contact, who will then arrange for them to be paid. Instead, what happens is that when the two of them are sort of separated for a moment, Stallone's partner is killed by another assassin, played by Jason Momoa, who then the two of them fight, and he gets away, and Stallone's character is then left in a sort of an issue of trying to find this other hitman to essentially get revenge for his partner, but also follow the trail of the hitman through to whoever it was that ordered the hit on him. At the same time, a character played by Sun Kang, who comes in from another police department, arrives in New Orleans looking for details on the man who has actually been assassinated and been killed, who was actually an ex-partner of his, and he's investigating things. The two of them end up meeting up and teaming up so they can then follow the leads to get back to whoever it is that is actually the person who's organised all the hits. Here's a clip.
You're one of them phone guys, huh?
I can't do my job without it. You know, I could use this as a weapon. I could jam your throat, hit your temple, bang. You'd be toast.
And I just sit there, right?
Well, you know, I could break this glass and use it as a cutting edge. You'd never see me coming. Or I could use a lithium battery to poison your drink, drop it in your coffee. Wouldn't even taste it.
And I can kill you with this piece of apple.
Yeah, right. How'd you do that?
Distraction.
So, as you heard in that clip, the sort of the dialogue that there is in the film, you heard that the character of Taylor Kwan, played by Sun Kang, is he's an annoying pain in the backside, really, because that's how I found him throughout most of the film. Sylvester Stallone is just doing the Sylvester Stallone role.
That sounded more like a zombie.
Well, it was kind of... You can... I mean, in fact, I want to see that now you said that. I want to see Sylvester Stallone in a
He
zombie
would
movie.
make a brilliant zombie.
He would be an awesome zombie. But it's just doing that typical Sylvester Stallone rumble. I mean, one of the things I did notice in particular when I went to see it at the cinema is that, especially from the sound at the start, the sound is really up and loud in this film. And I'm wondering if that's why I could actually understand Sylvester Stallone, because in a lot of films he's in now, unless you have the volume up, you do struggle to understand what he's saying. So I think in this, it's actually worked to his advantage that it's got a louder sound to the film, which worked for me in the film. But it's one of these kind of... I mean, it is a tad shy of having the words produced by Luc Besson in the title. That gives you an idea of the level of this film, what kind of thing to expect with it. There is this whole thing of there's a whole load of the action movies now, the big 80s and 90s action stars having a recurrence. You've got The Last Stand with Arnold Schwarzenegger last week. You've got A Good Day to Die Hard on February 14th. So they're all sort of coming out. And the problem is with this one is that there's nothing new about it. There is nothing in this you haven't seen before. It hasn't evolved from a film that had been made. If you showed this to someone back in 1980 and they watched it, they go, "Oh yeah, that's cool. It's really good. It's a decent action film," because of the fact that it's at the level of 1980s action movie filmmaking. But films that are being made now, there is something more to them. They just don't ask me to explain it in detail because it's hard to try and do that, especially in the time we've got. But there is a difference between action films made now and action films made 30 years ago. And this doesn't have that. So, I mean, there's some people who might like it because it's more like the older 80s films. But for me, it just... I was partly at certain points, getting to being bored with it. Because it's just like, oh yeah, follow the clues to get to the next step, to the next step, and have a big sort of action bit at the end, which involves two guys fighting with axes.
Unfortunately, I am going to have to cut you short. Just quickly answer the US Danny Dyer fans' question there. Was Bullet to the Head better or worse than The Last Stand?
I preferred The Last Stand because The Last Stand had more to it and had more interesting characters and less annoying characters. I mean, even admittedly, Last Stand had Johnny Knoxville in a role, but Sun Kang's role in this was more annoying to me than Johnny Knoxville in The Last Stand.
Well, I haven't seen Bullet to the Head, and I don't even intend to see it.
I think for anyone who's interested in seeing it, save it. Don't go to the cinema. Save money and see it when it comes out on rental.
Probably is a good idea, that. Right, I'll quickly get on with Chained. It's directed by Jennifer Lynch, and I was so annoyed because I nearly had the chance of interviewing her. So I probably would have been able to do a special show. It would have been for Following the Nerd, but I was allowed to use it. I would have been allowed to use it, and so I had the chance of interviewing Jennifer Lynch, which I'm really annoyed at missing that. This centres around a character played by Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays Bob, who's a taxi driver. And he has a sinister secret, the fact that it's not giving it away because it's in the trailer, that he's a killer. He's a serial killer. From an incident that you see in flashbacks, what happened to him as a child, which is quite harrowing in the film. One night he picks up this woman and a child from the cinema when they've come back from the theatre. She's a bit wary the fact that he didn't turn off the correct turning. Instead, he's taken them both to his house. He ends up killing the woman and keeps the boy. Practically as a son. He chains him up. And then the movie fast forwards 10 years, and so the boy goes from being 8 to 18. He's still chained up. He's kept as a slave in the house. He's been told that he has to serve everything that Bob desires. He has to clean up the house. He has to bring him food. He's only allowed to eat once Bob's finished his food. when he hears a knock on the door, he's got to wait 10 seconds, and then he has to quickly go to the door and open it up, because that's when Bob is bringing somebody back to, you might as well say, kill them. And the rest of the film is about Bob establishing, sort of like trying to build up Rabbit, who's the kid that he's kidnapped, that he's changed his name to Rabbit, trying to turn him into him, mould him into his form, and become a killer, because you might as well say he wants to pass on the legacy, as he's not got children. And again, there's a flashback scene which shows you why, considering that what he had to do as a teenager, which scarred him for life. Now, the film itself, it starts off with a lot of promise, because Bob is such a sinister character, and these films have been done numerous times before, and with this being done by Jennifer Lynch, it's the daughter of David Lynch, and her father is completely nuts. He's just screwed in the head. And I would not have told her that, though, if I managed to interview her. And she was actually in one of his first films, Eraserhead. And you would think that she would probably follow the same footsteps as him, but she hasn't. It's a more reeled-back movie. And for the first, I would say, about 40 minutes of the film, when you see the relationship between Bob and Rabbit, and trying to mould him and telling him what he has to do, it's very sinister. But the more the movie goes on, the more you think to yourself that, Rabbit, you're getting let off these chains. And there's numerous times in the film where Rabbit has a chance of killing Bob, and he doesn't do it. And you think, why? Why do you not do it? He's a very imposing character at the start, but the more through the film it gets, the more you see his weaknesses, the more he starts to crack. And you're thinking, why hasn't Rabbit's character not broken out from it? And that's the biggest problem of the film, because then it loses all of its tension, and it just becomes something that you're thinking, actually, this is a bit too formulaic. That's not to say it's not a bad film. If you can see it in cinemas, go and see it in cinemas. It's on a limited release, and it's out on Blu-ray and DVD now, so go out and buy it. It's a good film. It's a competent film from Jennifer Lynch, but it doesn't live up to the promise of what the first 40 minutes brings.
Okay, the final cinema release this week is Hyde Park on Hudson, which is a film from Roger Mitchell. It's based on true story, true events to do with Franklin Roosevelt, President of the United States, during the late 1930s, early 1940s. And it's to do with the story of him and Daisy, played by Laura Linney in the film, who is essentially a distant cousin who is brought to his private estate while he's president to be there as a sort of a friend and a confidant, and it's to do with her relationship and Franklin Roosevelt, played by Bill Murray, the relationship between the two of them. This is all sort of going on as things are then developing internationally, with the King and Queen of the United Kingdom coming to visit, which is King George is coming to visit. Bertie, as you would know him, if you've seen The King's Speech, the same character played that by Colin Firth, in this film played by Samuel West, and Queen Elizabeth played by the ever brilliant Olivia Colman. You have the sort of the whole thing of them coming over to visit the United States to try and strengthen relations between the countries, to try and then enlist the Americans' help in fighting off during what would eventually become World War II. Here's a clip.
To His Majesty, the King.
Inside, everyone was on their very best behavior.
His Majesty the King.
And to Her Majesty, the Queen.
Welcome.
To Her Majesty. Normally we wouldn't taste the Queen.
What is that for?
We've been told the Queen is served exactly 30 seconds after the King.
A tray with Mrs. Astor's 24 plates collapsed for no reason just before the soup.
What happened?
I don't know, ma'am. No one touched it.
I suppose an angel just passed, a big, clumsy one.
So it's I mean, that's going on at the time you have there. It's centering around that happening of the King and Queen coming to visit, but it's more focusing on, I mean, as you heard there, doing the voiceover was Laura Linney, because her character Daisy is essentially the main character of the film. It's to do with the fact of that there is. It's never been confirmed through history, but there's sort of letters that were sent back and forth between her and the President Roosevelt. That there's sort of a hint at that there may have been something more to their relationship. That he may have been having an affair with her, and there's this sort of this subtext of this in the film and certain elements as the film goes on, which is kind of a bit, well, not unpleasant, but it's a bit disconcerting to watch. Aside from that, the film is filled with great performances. I mean, Bill Murray in the film as Franklin Roosevelt is absolutely brilliant. He plays the part. I thought he was absolutely superb in the film. Laura Linney, I don't think she's as great as she has been in other films before. I don't know if it's maybe just because of the fact of the character she's portraying is someone who's real and she's maybe not had much chance to, because it's somebody who was in the shadow of the limelight. It's not someone who you'd have a lot of things to look up and be able to portray them. So I don't know if that's down to that or if it's just that she struggled with the role. Olivia Colman, as I already mentioned, is absolutely fantastic in the scene she's in it. She's not in the film for that much, but the scenes that she is in, she is brilliant. She's even great at eliciting a few laughs in a couple of scenes. And you've also got in the movie as well, as I say, you've got Samuel West, who's playing the king, who's visiting, and you also got Olivia Williams in there, who plays Eleanor, who is Franklin Roosevelt's wife, and they're all brilliant performances in the film, but just disappointingly it doesn't quite gel because of this disconcerting subject that encroaches on the story as the film goes. And I mean, that's not to say it's a bad film, just for me it didn't quite work. As it started off well and it starts off brilliantly, but then as it goes on through its running time, which is only 94 minutes long, so it's not an overly long film, it just gets to that point where you become uncomfortable with the film as you get towards the end of it.
Yeah, okay then, that's it for the cinema part of the show this week. Sorry, I nearly choked a little bit there. We will be back in a moment on Spreaker with the Blu-ray and DVD part of the show, so if you're listening to us on live chat or listening to us live, please make sure you tune into that. If you're listening to us back on anywhere else, on iTunes, etc., then download the Blu-ray and DVD part of the show, so we will be back in a moment.